The first day of a General Assembly session is much like the start of baseball's spring training. The veterans catch up with each other about how their off seasons went and welcome new players who are still getting the lay of the land. On Tuesday, 16 new lawmakers were sworn into the Rhode Island General Assembly, 4 in the Senate and 12 in the House. They come from all walks of life and varying political philosophies. The Hummel report sat down last week with 4 of the freshmen to get a sense of why they ran and the issues that are important to them. They include Representatives Julie Casimiro of North Kingstown, Jason Knight of Barrington, and Robert Quattrochi of Scituate, and Senator Janine Calkin of Warwick. The new legislators arrive after a bumpy political year in 2016 that saw House Finance Chairman Raymond Gallison resign under the cloud of a federal investigation, and another top member of House Speaker Nicholas Mattiello's leadership team embroiled in a residency scandal.
I think now that there's been a few bumps in the road, I think everybody knows that the public is watching, so I think it's going to be different.
Representative Casimiro, a Democrat, lost a close race 2 years ago to Republican Doreen Costa. Costa decided in June not to run for a 4th term, and Casimiro, who worked in the corporate world for 35 years before taking several jobs in the social services sector, won easily in November against a Republican opponent from Exeter.
What did you hear when you were out on the campaign trail?
Believe it or not, I did not hear anything about truck tolls. That came up maybe twice.
Did that surprise you?
Yes. I think it came up twice on the campaign trail. I heard a lot about the grants, legislative grants, and the issues around that. People just want to know where I stood on things.
I think there's huge potential in Rhode Island because it is small, it can be nimble, it can be quick, and I think a lot of that potential has been wasted over the years, and it burns me up. I know that we can do better.
Representative Knight is an attorney from Barrington who defeated 10-term incumbent and fellow Democrat Jan Malik in a primary, then cruised to victory in the general election. Knight said gun control motivated him to run, and Malik had taken contributions from the NRA. But he added it goes far beyond that one issue.
I want to see Rhode Island thrive and succeed, and I think that requires effort on a number of fronts. I think building a successful state is a lot like tending to a garden. It's not just air, and it's not just sunlight or water or soil. It's all of them put together. So it's good economic policy, it's good criminal justice policy, it's policies that support the middle class and try to expand the middle class. It's education, for sure, and it's competing with the other New England states to get our share of the economic pie that's available.
Basically, I just got fed up, to a point where I felt that I wanted to become involved.
Representative Quattrochi, a small business owner from Scituate, ran an unsuccessful race in 2014 against Democrat Representative Michael Marcello, who had served 3 terms. Quattrochi, who ran 2 years ago as an independent, became a Republican this year and edged out Marcello in November. He says he first started coming to the State House upset by the failed 38 Studios deal, and more recently has been disturbed by the Raimondo administration's handling of the botched UHIP social services computer rollout.
You see, I come from a faraway land, and it's called the real world. I'm self-employed most of my life, so I have to, I've always had to work hard to get ahead. And it's a faraway place from the glass walls and bubble of government and politics. So where I come from, people get fired, for incompetence or certainly waste of money, And these are the things that need to happen. I mean, there needs to be accountability for this.
Some people had asked me to run, and I took it really seriously and considered it, and I only did it because I felt I could make a difference.
Janine Calkin, who has an IT background, was an organizer for Senator Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign in Rhode Island. What she heard walking door to door in her Warwick district prompted her to challenge Democrat William Woloska, who had been in the state Senate since 1994. Calkin won in a tight race.
We didn't really necessarily know what we were up against. We just said we're going to work as hard as we possibly can and get our message out there and meet as many people as we could. And that's where we went. And, we focused on the issues.
I think legislative grants need to be vetted properly because there are some great organizations out there doing great work who really need the money. I think that they should be vetted better.
Put them in the budget process?
That could do it.
People were frustrated with this building, and they had the sense that this building was disconnected from the real problems that Rhode Island faces in some respect. That there were certainly some people who thought that everyone comes up here is coming up to play the game, to try to rub a few shoulders, rub some elbows, and get something out of it for them. People found out I was a lawyer, and lawyers have a bad reputation up here. And they said, are you going up there to do the right thing, or are you going up there just to, get a job after you're done?
Or enhance your practice.
Or enhance my practice and all this stuff. And I spent a lot of time saying, this is my community service project. I'm going up because I love Rhode Island, and I love what we have here, and I want to try to make it better. And that's it.
A lot of people talking about split families, sending kids off to other states for jobs and such, which I have a 23-year-old, and I deal with the same thing,
Tried to get a job here.
She's in school now, but, I advise her that maybe she may have to go elsewhere to find a job.
Calkin is committed to working toward a significantly higher minimum wage for Rhode Islanders, something that may be a tough sell with the leadership.
I'd love to see a living wage. Right now, we have a $9.60 minimum wage, but that's very difficult. And that was one of the things that really struck a lot of people that I talked to was, how they're struggling every day, trying to, make a life for themselves, or they have kids that are out of college that have a huge amount of debt, but they can only, get low-paying jobs. So I'd love to see a $15 minimum wage.
You've heard the ultimate argument that could potentially hurt small business. And what do you say to that?
I disagree. I think that if you give people at the lowest incomes more money to spend, they put it right back into local business.
Did anything surprise you at orientation?
Yes. When we were walked through the process, the legislative process in a perfect world, and we all know the perfect world doesn't exist. So when we were walked through the legislative process, I was like, wow, it's a big process. It's cumbersome, even in a perfect world. So I'm hoping that I can get my arms around that rather quickly so I can be effective up here.
Several talked about walking into their respective chambers for the first time after the election.
I was in awe, I probably, I'm sure a few times I looked around just to kind of take it in, so that moment didn't pass me by, so it's a beautiful place. Look at this, it's historic, and I'm part of it now.
So when you walked in for that first time, what did you think?
It's a little overwhelming in that I have this humongous opportunity and this chance to be able to make a difference, which is amazing, and I'm very honored and very lucky to be able to do that.
And they are all committed to making a difference in whatever way they can, even as freshman lawmakers.
I got a lot of, why in the God's name would you go up there and want to do this job, right? And my answer always was, are we just going to give up? Are we just going to say it doesn't, throw up our hands and say it doesn't work? It's too easy to just say, it doesn't work. Oh, it'll never change. I told my kids, I said, I can't complain about it if I'm not going to do something about it.
At the State House, Jim Hummel for the Hummel Report.